Fuck you, Mariah. Oh my god. Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome to the video. Welcome to the recording. I want to first apologize. I feel as though my last video was quite lackluster, quite dull. It's so not me. But when I'm talking about things like fashion or things of the mundane realm, that's what tends to happen. But I am so happy, so elated to be here with all of you. And Philip, can you please? No, Philip, what did you do? I'll do it. Okay, here we go. Yes. Camera work. Camera work, hello. Whatever. I don't know. But I am happy to be here today. I'm simply going to just open up, to just flow. Because when you give me a sense of direction, I veer off, right, quite violently. But I am so happy. Why? I just am. I'm alive, I am well, I'm rather happy. My foot is healing up rather nicely. I have little to no use for this anymore. Although, if any of you are interested, hit me out. I'm joking, I'm terrible. But no, I am so happy. You know, and it's a good thing, but I know there's a lot of people that probably aren't me in this sort of situation. But I feel as though happiness, you should probably measure it, I believe, in temporary instances. Everybody has their ups and downs, but what I think really makes an impact is whether or not you are willing to sort of let those things sort of govern your life, sort of, you know, be that thing that sort of, I don't know, that demeans you. You know, you are above your circumstance. You have to be in order to survive properly. So whenever you have your moments, whenever you have your ups and downs, you know, appreciate them, because sometimes our downs help us reflect on the things that we feel, the things that we've come short of, and they help us improve. And the ups are good because they help reinforce the fact that we made it here, that there are things to be grateful for. So that is what that is good for. I'm going to simply move this. I hate this. What is it? Philip, you're slipping. Hello. Here we go. I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know, Philip is actually a construct that I created a long time ago. Philip is a bit shy, doesn't want to sort of show himself now, but I believe in turn we'll probably get to that point in time. But I'm so happy to have all of you here today. Welcome to another... Welcome to how you doing? Welcome to Wendy Williams. I'm just joking. Oh my god, speaking of Wendy Williams. How many of you even watch her show anymore? I don't. I used to watch her show a lot. I was obviously, hello. A very big fan of Wendy. I thought she was rather fun. Her takes were, you know, unique in itself. But what I appreciated about Wendy was that she was fairly forthcoming. She seemed very genuine and honest with her opinions, with the things, you know, and you know, she was very involved in, like, you know, the world of fashion, I guess, celebrities. I mean, I suppose you have to be when it's your line of work. Now, speaking of celebrities, there's certain things that I don't understand. You know, the dress wear, everything else, I don't understand. And I don't know if it's because I'm 200 years old or anything like that. But, you know, it's honestly quite atrocious. You speak of celebrities, you know, Mariah Carey. Whatever, who gives a shit? You know, I remember I saw a post recently and they had, like, the image of Goku in the tank. And they said, this is Mariah Carey, you know, just waiting. That's when people are waiting for her glow up. She's not going to have one, okay? The only time she'll glow up is after she had a child. Let's be honest. She had several, I think, with Nick or whatever. And I don't hate Mariah. I really don't. I just feel as though she's one of those celebrities that I think tried to, you know, grasp at the past. Like she did not fade into glory or into grace. She sort of, you know, tried to latch on, you know, with her harpy claws. And she tried to, you know, keep, I guess, her relevancy a bit much. You know, she wasn't a bad singer. I believe she was a bit overrated, but she was really good at doing runs and singing very high. Things that birds do. So she's a bird, but she's also a goat. For those of you who probably know that reference. But I thought it was quite interesting that you see these sort of celebrities that they sort of, you know, just, they try to cling to the past. They try to cling to the present so much to sort of have a type of relevancy, to sort of, you know, I don't know. It's like she's already, what, in her 50s or so. Like, at that point, you should already sort of have your life together. You should know who you are as a person, be confident who you are, and be at peace with the fact that you had your time. People know you. You are considered, you know, to many as a great female black musician, R&B artist. Some might even call you one of the greats. during that time and era. You came up during a time where it's very, very good for her. The 90s were especially good to Mariah. The 80s and even the 2000s, and Mariah was there, but Mariah was for a specific generation, just like this generation currently is. The older generation isn't going to get Nas X. They're not going to get Machine Gun Kelly. They're not going to get even other singers like Ariana Grande, who is phenomenal at singing, even though I do find it a little bit annoying. But she's a good person, maybe. But she's very talented. You can't deny talent when you see it. I personally can't deny talent, you know. And I just feel as though, it's I feel like it's a bit toxic. And so when those sort of things, sort of worm its way into your being, it sort of pollutes who you are as a person. And then when that happens, the poison that you have from lingering in the past, from grudges, from the hope, from whatever it is, sort of keeps you trapped in a certain state of mind that is quite detrimental. I don't know and I don't understand why these celebrities are so hooked on, remaining famous. I can understand because the longer you are in the public eye, the more attention you get, the more promotions you have, things like, book deals, movie deals, things like music, even things like, the fashion industry is a huge thing, huge proponent. And so I'm happy for the ones that have it, but for those that don't, then just deal with it. Just fade into obscurity like the rest of us. You have to learn how to let go. You have to learn how to proceed to move on. And I think that is very essential and very important when you're a person that's in the public eye, like a celebrity. And to also try to be as, human as possible, as normal as possible. Paul Rudd, he's a normal person. That's why he's so likable. He doesn't try to be anything else. He was never really pretentious. He's an actor, yes. Is he moderately good looking? Of course. Is he the same age as he was maybe 20, 30 years ago? Possibly. But all around the board, everyone seems to like him for his personality, for who he plays on film, and because in real life, he's just a normal person. He goes somewhere to eat like everyone else. He goes somewhere to drink like everyone else. He's just out there. He's involved within his own community. That's why people have such a positive opinion about him. I hear the same thing about Keanu Reeves. Hard take, Keanu Reeves is not a good actor. I said it. Keanu Reeves is not a good actor. He is overrated. I suppose he was good looking in his younger days or whatever. He was involved in a lot of blockbuster films, the Matrix trilogies. He was in something called Point Break. He's been in other things too. I think he was in Speed or something with was it Holly Berry? I forgot who it was, or Sandra Bullock. A very talented person like that. He was in Bill and Ted's Awesome Adventure 1, 2, and 3, which I did not see, which I heard was a disaster. But what do you expect from directors trying to relive the past? Like I said, Keanu Reeves, I believe he has a diversity of, I think, a sheet of paper. He's very dull. He's the same color all around, and color besides being white, which I'm not even sure he is 100%. He's just very bland at acting. He was never truly that serious. I think once he did the Matrix films, it sort of cemented that sort of weird personality. People complain about the fact that he's so super zen. He can't really differentiate between emotions anymore. He's like a robot. Can you imagine him, just railing you, just with the same face over and over again? I should ask Trinity how it was. Apparently she seemed to enjoy it. But it was during a time when humanity was done and, there's no hope left. You were forced to, sleep with a sheet of paper. That is what Keanu Reeves, he's a sheet of paper. I'm sorry of those of you who like him. I'm sure he's a marvelous person, a nice guy. But acting-wise, he doesn't do it for me. He's not versatile. He's rarely done anything, super dramatic or expressive. He did a drama thing before, whatever. Every artist in, things like performances, actors, they have to do those sort of things, just so you don't get the feet wet or whatever. But you don't really see that dynamic coming from him. He was marvelous in action films, so I would say he's an action film star. The same thing as Bruce Willis is, who also has a very boring personality. He's a rock. Bruce Willis is a rock. He's the same thing every time. No matter where you throw him, whatever movie he's in, he's a rock. He's a glorified paperweight. He looks very good on paper, and he's good for violent things that require very little emotion, very little involvement, very little commitment. And in terms of commitment, I recently saw a movie from Bruce Willis, which was atrocious, called Breach. It takes place in space. These people that are, I guess, escaping Earth because there's a deadly virus going around, a plague or whatever. They go to outer space to go to a colony that's on another planet, light years away. It's supposed to take 200 years. I don't know what. People go on this spaceship. There's a strange leak, which they never really address. And apparently there's an alien life form on board that is, infecting the people, turning them into mindless zombies in space. Bruce Willis the whole time. Yeah. That's that's how he was. Very, very highly expressive. You could tell he did that movie for a paycheck. The thing I don't like about certain actors, and I understand you probably get to a point where you're like, this isn't really worth my time. If that's the case, then don't take the movie. Maybe he needed the money. Maybe he was helping out the director. I don't know, because he's a very household name. He's a very famous name in Hollywood. But he looks like a wrinkly hot dog. I don't know what to think about the situation, Bruce. He was marvelous in Armageddon. He was good in the Die Hard series. He was good in Invincible. Like the thing where he was a superhero that sort of was then Split and then Glass. It was part of a trilogy or whatever. I think that was his name, Invincible or something like that. He's been in other movies as well. He's not a terrible actor when you put him in a specific element, but does that make him a good actor within that element? I don't understand why he's like that, but honestly, who can? The guy has he has the emotional maturity of a fish, and that's not much. I'm just ranting on celebrities today, but I was like, look, if I want to talk about anything, I should talk about things that, sort of spark an interest. But perhaps you notice these sort of things. The Marvel movies are overrated. Yes, it's a rant. I know it's not popular, but it's just whenever there's a new Marvel movie come out, you expect the same thing every time. There's scarcely a twist or anything truly, whatever about it. The Avengers series, they were good. Endgame, Infinity War were a bit lackluster. I didn't think too much of them. I thought they were extremely predictable. They got a little bit boring in the middle, and it dragged on for a bit. And then the ending was fine, but it didn't make sense. They sort of, harked back to this whole Captain Marvel thing, who did nothing, by the way. And yes, they bring up the excuse, well, there's a whole universe, has happened everywhere. Yes, but your priority is here. You have the evilest tyrants in the universe. He killed everyone, and he came here to Earth. If you really wanted to help, he would have been here to begin with to avoid that sort of thing happening. Yes, it was happening all over the universe, but you had a hand in, stopping that sort of thing. And then aside from that point, you have this movie coming out called The Immortals, which apparently other people that were probably far stronger than Thanos, but also did nothing. So, and yeah, so it's this whole thing. And Marvel, look, it's not a bad series. I saw Loki. I thought Loki was good, but the ending I sort of somewhat saw it coming. Star Wars was horrible, unfortunately, and I was a big fan of that series, but it went nowhere. The director, which I think they've had 2 or 3 during the time of directing, they sort of took their own liberties. I had hope with J.J. Abrams and invited another person in. Didn't do bad with it, but there was no real sheer connection or belief and agreement on what the hell was bloody going on. I thought we were going to start with a black actor. I was like, okay, this is fine. I have no problem with it. Is he a Jedi? Who knows? It's the first time you've seen on a big screen a stormtrooper sort of rebelling against the code, going against the Empire. You have sort of a person that was in the bad side, turning to the good side and everything else, helping out the light or whatever. They're rediscovering themselves. But of course, they have a supporting actor who ended up being the main actor of the entire series. And yeah, because I guess they felt as though there weren't women, I guess, in the Jedi Council, which they absolutely were. Very talented with Mara Jade, who I believe was Luke Skywalker's wife, very powerful in the Force. I think she was his wife. And you have the librarian. You have Ahsoka Tano. She's very prolific in the Star Wars universe. She's a badass. And they're making a TV series now, which I would definitely want to watch. But I just think it's very interesting they made with that choice. But at this point, I'm just beating a dead horse, and the horse is liking it, apparently. But I know, it's just all of these things that sort of just come to mind. And so it's sort of people don't know what they're doing, especially because of things like, movies or things. But when I mentioned to you about celebrities, they sort of do these roles in movies to not only stay relevant because it's a source of income, but to, I guess, to just be in the public eye. Because as long as you are, you're fine with life. But then when that gets taken away from you, you don't really know what to do with the rest of your life at all. So it's this whole thing. But I just wanted to get into maybe a small thing in the video. I don't want to do a rant, but I felt as though I had to. There's a few things I wanted to talk about. But I think I guess a story time. I guess to mention things that happened. So I decided to go back home, to visit family. How did that go? It was a disaster, honestly, to say the least. Susan caught up with me. Yes, Susan. She was a professor that worked at the university that I was working at the school, the academy, the magisteria, whatever you would like to call it. She was a bit forthcoming. She was a bit confrontational. I did not like it. I did not enjoy it. But she was frankly very, dismissive about it. She called me very wrong things, and I said, "Well, I hope you like that horse you're fucking." So, she got very offended by it because she was very into centaurs, and now we have hybrid students at the school. So I issued, I issued a what do you call it? I issued a report to against the local authorities, and now she's a sexual offender. So I haven't able to. I'm like, you better watch your ass, Susan. I'm watching you. You leave the students alone. I know you like horses, but take it easy. But she has nothing sort of going on for her. Susan, I don't care. She was a person that was working there for a time. I thought she'd have my back, but she didn't. I was very surprised by it. She was the one doing research into, the genealogy and into the genetics of hybrids and the magical creatures. She was very talented, very bright. Obviously not enough. She's rather dull now. So she still has the same ideology. I feel as though she's got brainwashed. I don't even know what to say about it. I sort of gave up on her a long time ago when I left the university. When I sort of left the school or whatever because of the fiasco that happened. I don't want to get into it again because I've failed at least 3 times by now. But yes, so she was an issue. I went into a man known as Eric. I was going to say Eric Baldwin. But that is sort of his name. Baldwin's his middle name. His last name is actually Bershaya. Alec Baldwin Bershaya. He was a person that I believe... Not Alec, I'm sorry, Eric. Current news! Alec Baldwin shot somebody and they died. Will he go to jail? I don't know. But people are like, we should hang together for Alec. I was like, I understand this skating point. But I'm like, he did shoot someone. It was accidental. Maybe. Did it actually happen? Yes. Someone is in fact dead. They don't want to see him go to jail. They think he's a nice person. They're never with him. You hear rumors about him being a dreadfully, nasty person to work with, perhaps. Just in terms of, attitude or whatever. A bit of a diva. I don't know. I have real no opinion on the matter. I'm like, look, if you killed someone accidentally, there are things like misdemeanors. There are first degrees, second degrees, third degrees. When it comes to things like murder, will he go to jail? I actually don't know. I would feel as though to avoid public uproar, he would probably have some sort of sentencing, probably a type of probation, because he's a celebrity of this kind and because he wasn't the one that supplied his own weapon. The crew, as well as whoever was in charge of, procuring the weapons for the set, the props or whatever, should have been checking these things night and day. They also honestly didn't. Could Alec have done this himself? Possibly. There's a weird conspiracy that the woman that he ended up shooting and killing was part of a film that he did a long time ago with her, dying in the film because she was being shot by somebody, an actor or whatever. And then the fact that it happened this time was, quite of a wake-up call. But I don't know anything about Alec. Like I said, any person, an individual is fine, but you don't really know the person until you actually, get to meet them and talk to them. But, like I said, I think in order to, dissuade any sort of, conspiracies, and in order to properly, exist, and I believe to perform, and I believe to remain positive in public eye, he will probably go into sort of some type of isolation. They will call for justice because a woman was killed. She was technically murdered. It wasn't like he meant to do it from what we can tell. But it was pointing around a gun on set. He didn't think it was loaded or whatever, but it was. It was the same issue with Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee. He was on set or whatever. He was the one that played the Crow in the first Crow. Apparently people tied it to, ties with, mafias or whatever, everything else. The point is, he was on set during a time there was a shoot in the movie where the person had a loaded gun, they were going to shoot him. It was supposed to be blanks, so the things that sort of, look as though you're being shot. They actually had real bullets in there, or what they said was, it was a blank bullet, but I believe the tip was, I guess, hollow enough, but it was still very solid. So when it shot him, it actually penetrated his skin and I guess caused the issue. And rest in peace, Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee, their whole families. Sarah Lee. Yes, I don't know, but it was a big fiasco, a big issue. Now it's happening again. So, I don't know. Could he have done it? He obviously did do it, but I don't know if he actually meant to. We have to see how that turns out. But, like I said, celebrities have a wealth of resources. They can contact anyone and make things seem as though they were an accident. I mean, if you're a person who's perhaps very aggravated or angry, if, Sarah Lee said something stupid to you and you had a gun and you just about had it with Sarah, you might in fact pull the trigger in the intent to kill this person. But, so people think in a rage and they just go blank at a certain point. But I think it's enough about celebrities. Enough about that. So anyways, I had this issue with Sarah. It was fine. I got into maybe 2 duels when I got back home, just to, stress myself out. I was rather dominated, but I liked it. And so it was a lot of things happening at the university that I knew about but just ignored. And so I decided to go to a, local, dueling ground for people with, magic professors. It was underground, but it was legal. And I had a good time, had a marvelous time. And the 2 men that I was with also had a marvelous time too. Just joking. No, but seriously, be safe, people. It is very dangerous outside. You don't want to know what happens. So Halloween was recently. I hope all of you had a marvelous time at Halloween. It was rather dangerous for most cities and some people. There was blackouts here where I was at. How'd that happen? I don't know. The spirits were in fact restless. As soon as I walked outside, I sensed a sort of sensation in the air. I felt there was a tense, there was an anxiety or whatever, sort of an anticipation of what's to come. And, but it's a lot of things. I don't really want to go into a whole Halloween history lesson or anything else like that. But speaking of Halloween, I perhaps will talk a little bit about the creature I want to speak to you about. And I believe it could be perhaps another part I could perhaps go into it a bit further. But something that was very interesting to me was the thing about vampires. So I was going to talk about vampires, I believe, in this video. And I know I spent the entirety of this video just ranting, because I felt as though I had to try to make this sort of thing informative as I could, somewhat entertaining, things that you guys know and care about. Like the Oscars. Psych! No one cares about the Oscars. Things like movies, Marvels, which is dreadfully overrated. DC, which has trouble making a decent film. I'm still waiting for the next Fantastic Beasts movie. When will that come out? Maybe next year. Attack on Titan. Hey! It's coming out in January, I believe. I'm so excited for that. Can't wait for it. I think, I saw a little clip. I think they spoiled what the hell Eren was supposed to look like, and some people knew already, but I wanted to be surprised. I've been seeing the anime. I don't read the manga because I'm not a simpleton. I require proper media, something that, entertains me. I love the acting. It's a more complete experience, in my opinion. But I'm very excited for that. Eren, however, is taking a rather dark turn, but I kind of like it because it's sort of a break from where he used to be. The motivation for certain things and where it is going, I'm a little bit nervous about because it doesn't feel like it's the right path considering everything that's happened. Unfortunately, when it comes to things like those type of storylines which were made by, I believe, Japanese artists or whatever, the Asians in general, this sounds very racist. No, the Japanese, they are very good at making stories and everything else. But when it comes to making certain things like series or whatever, things like politics, it gets very dark and dreary and drab and sad at times, many times. They get very dark. Squid Game is an example. That Alice Wonderland movie thing they did with the video game, whatever that was. That's also another thing that gets pretty dark. Host was pretty dark, although they were Koreans that did that sort of thing. But like I said, there's lots of trauma there. And so I am part of the Western audience, but I have an appreciation for the Eastern perspective. Where the series is going, I'm a bit nervous because of what I've seen. What he did to Armin was unforgivable. I'm not happy about it, but then again, Armin, I suppose, had it coming. Mikasa also, too. I don't... he's in a very strange headspace. I'm a bit nervous and I'm a bit worried for him, mostly his friends and his people, with the decisions he's making. But we shall see where this goes. I feel as though I know where it is going. I have a theory that the way they're doing this is that they're making it where it happened in the past. And so the reason why we don't see anything like that anymore is because they all died out. So I'm assuming because they're using an actual map of the Earth. They're using certain countries, certain, physical characteristics and appearances that are very synonymous with cultures here. Some people said it was a very fascist anime. Not really. They were talking about fascism, about certain things that led to where they were today. Things like conspiracies are in the show. You find out what's really happening. And it's becoming a huge thing. So I am honestly just waiting for it. I'm looking at it. I'm watching it. I hope that everything turns out all right. But knowing where the story is going and then seeing, the natural climate where we are today, how they're sort of calling back to it, it's very reminiscent of the World Wars and everything else. I only see this going in a very dark direction. Attack on Titan was always supposed to be somewhat of a dark series. It was supposed to be something about, it was supposed to be gory, dark, help you, get invested into it. Sort of into I believe, the finality of mankind and the era and the hubris of mankind. Like I said, it's not really an anime you watch if you want to be motivated. There are certainly humorous points in it, and there are moments of triumph which are good, but the series itself is very bittersweet. And what it is right now, I can't say that I am exactly excited for what's happening. I'm anticipating. I am a bit more anxious and nervous as to how it's going to turn out. I do want to keep seeing it because, of course, I am invested. But I can't lie to you. I am a little bit worried as to where this is going. Will I like it? Time will tell. Um, yes. So, but Castlevania, marvelous series. I recommend it highly. But yes. So yeah, it's just that, you know. But I think honestly, going back to vampires, I think I'll probably divulge it perhaps in the next video, but I perhaps will introduce it here just to, you know, give you a sort of preface to make you probably think about the subject until we get to the next video. So I was speaking with some friends at home, and I remember in a video I did a long time ago, I told you how a friend of mine had a minor case of vampirism, but it was a pseudo vampirism. It wasn't true vampirism, but we do have vampires from where I come from. But it's a lot more romanticized in the way you know it. So the thing that's interesting is that at one time, I actually met one vampire in my entire life, and they were a relatively collective person. They were a bit, you know, looking back and forth. They were very alertive. They are extremely paranoid for being vampires. Nothing like what you see on TV. They are extremely paranoid. They are always anxious, and sometimes, you know, they get a bit. They have things like tics or whatever. Sometimes it's like teeth grinding, it's chattering. Sometimes it's just like finger things like that, because they're trying to avoid the urge of, you know, succumbing to their desires. Part of them is human, but they are in fact, you know, corrupted by sort of darker force. So I'm going to go into this first preface into vampires. So a long time ago, well, I should probably restart that. Vampires in modern culture are seen as people that have been sort of, you know, infected by this sort of dark force or this dark energy. But they still maintain sort of their faculties, but they do have an impulse for blood and things of that nature. There is popular belief among the people here in your realm, as well as in mine, that the original vampire, who you call Dracula or whoever else, were people that not only were they war generals or anything else, but apparently to attain the power that they had to make a deal with a sort of being, a creature, a demon, so to speak, which I believe could also have been a jinn at that time. So he asked for, you know, like, for example, Dracula untold how he went to the original person, the thing that, you know, ate or killed, whatever. And he said, I need the power to defeat my enemies. The jinn said, I can give that to you. But, like, he didn't know jinns. And so, yeah, so it sort of backfired when he wished for it. Ended up corrupting him and gave him the power that he needed, but at a great price. He actually ended up, the original Dracula, well, from who you call Dracula, we have a different name for it. I think his name was, I think it's Venatio or something. I think it's Venatio, something like that. I can't tell. The Visa coincidence I know, but I can't tell. But apparently it says that after he, I believe, was infected or whatever, he killed his family. He dragged them. He didn't know how to create more of it. He had an insatiable appetite. He went on a killing spree for, I believe, about a decade. It was very bad. Until finally, mages got a hold of, I guess, the townspeople. They were able to sort of bring him in. It was sort of, you know, sedate him to figure out what the hell he was and what was going on. So what they found, actually, was that what he was experiencing was sort of side effects from coming into contact with, I believe, a darker version of the Null. The Null are creatures that dwell in the world in between the spirit realm and the physical realm. They sort of inhabit the celestial spaces, the cosmos, as it were. They're not true beings. They have no real faces. They have no real expressions. They're just silhouettes of people in physical form. But they're able to take and adapt to nearly every and any situation. They inherit the powers, the physiology, the physical appearance, and everything else. They are very scary when you come into contact with. Why? Because their moves are very unpredictable and erratic. It's extremely rare to see one in the wild, and it is not recommended to engage unless if you are an experienced mage like myself. The issue with the Null is that the Null are almost like mimics. They share very similar personalities and very similar abilities. The mimics are believed to be, I believe, a subspecies of the Null, believe it or not. And the Null apparently are creatures that, if they come into contact with the physical realm, would try to, you know, sort of adapt to the current situation. However, because the world itself is very different from where they come from, different energies. They come from a place of neutral energy. But the world where we live in, there's things like positive and negative energies. And so it is said that when they came into contact with the negative energy, it sort of corrupted them and it sort of turned them into a disfigured form of themselves, which some call mimics, other ones call vampires, other ones call things like, oh my God, what's the other word? Goblins sometimes, it's things like that. But these sort of things happen, and then over time, it was found that the null had the ability to, I guess, corrupt other life forms they came into contact with. So sort of, infect them. And so this is whole theory that we share, that we sort of know about, that believe the vampirism could have been caused by some sort of virus, sort of a cause of, bacterial infection, or, a type of corruption. Other people believe that, I believe there's this theory that it was done by the sort of pact made between a man and believe an evil spirit of some kind, maybe a jinn, a demon, or whatever it is. Some other people say there's also a curse done by a mage of great power or a witch of some kind. So I'm giving you those three prefaces just to things to think about, to see what you think about it. But I'm going to give you a bit more take and I believe the depth into that subject perhaps in a later video. But I hope all of you are enjoying these topics, these times. I just sort of went into a rant, but I feel as though I had to sort of warm up to it because I haven't uploaded a video in quite some time. I'll be honest. I tried to be a bit more, forward with these sort of things, but, we'll see where this sort of goes. But I am actually in the process of, coming up with some recipes and maybe some music. So perhaps, just to bring some variety to the channel, which I hope all of you are going to enjoy. So without further more delay, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I hope all of you are being well, that you're being kind, that you're practicing in safety, whether it's sex or magic, that you are being healthy in physical, in your physical attributes, in your mental capacities, and in your spiritual wellness. I hope all of you are, seeking knowledge as well as, seeking companionship, seeking kindness with others, that you treat others with kindness and respect, that you remember to feed your disgusting pets like dogs, cats, and lizards, and that you remember to also feed your brother you may keep locked in a cage. Remember that I love you, that I care for you, as well as Pahalu, and that you always remember that on this channel, we seek to make the mundane magical. So, goodbye, everyone.